Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It's a Numbers Game. I'm Adam Morris, and I'm joined by my co-host, Daniel Welling. AI is now a commercial conversation every MSP has to have, whether you feel ready for it or not. Clients are asking about Copilot, they're asking about automation, they're even starting to hear about agentic AI, and many MSPs are trying to work out where this actually fits and how to make money from it. Our guest today is Fiona Challis. Fiona has spent more than 25 years in the IT channel and has been involved in multiple major shifts from product resale to managed services, from cloud adoption to outcome-based selling. Her current focus is helping MSPs work through the AI transition in a practical way, starting with Copilot, building confidence and capability, and then progressing when it makes sense towards agentic AI and digital workflows. In this episode, we're going to talk about where most MSPs really are today, why demand for AI is coming from end users, and how partners can package, sell, and deliver AI services safely and profitably. For an MSP owner trying to work out how AI fits into your existing Microsoft estate and how to turn it into a real service, not just a license, then this conversation is for you.
Fiona, welcome to the program.
Hello again, Daniel. Thank you for having me, and Adam.
Nice to see you.
But are we actually seeing and talking to the real Fiona?
Well, that's the question, Dan. Only you can figure that out. We were just talking about creating AI avatars and how AI avatars are actually outbeating the human avatars in social media. So Dan is convinced that this is an AI avatar.
And I could
the real
believe
me.
it.
It is the real me.
I could believe it for me, but not you, Fiona. So,
But we do like your digital Dan. I like that.
with the wobbly head, yes. Thanks to Graham Stead for sending that to me in the post this week.
Oh, was it?
And so we recently caught up at the GTIA event, and we were talking about AI, and we definitely wanted to record this podcast, but had we recorded it 2 months ago, it would have been out of date already, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So perhaps you could kick off with just telling us about some of the developments that you've seen over the last 8 weeks in MSP land and to do with AI.
Yeah, so just as I was saying beforehand, it's like we're on that high-speed train that is moving at lightning speed when it comes to AI in the channel. So when we first met a couple of months ago, we were talking about a program I ran years ago, do you remember, called the Mentori program?
I do, yes.
And that's how we all met, me, you, Talbot, and all of them, we all met kind of through Mentori. And when I look back at the purpose of what Mentori was, that was in like 2017, I think it wasn't it? 2017, 18?
Correct.
Yeah. And it was really when the channel was going through a huge industry shift. Remember, we were moving away from selling products to selling as a service, to selling recurring revenue, selling business outcomes. And we kind of created Mentori to be like the roadmap. It was the roadmap to help partners go through that huge industry shift. And where we are in the channel right now is exactly the same. So for me, we're going through one of the biggest shifts that I think we'll actually ever see in the channel. Bigger than Office 365. Do you remember when Office 365 came out? We're all old enough, I think, to remember it. But it feels like that now. It feels like it's the biggest shift in my whole time in the channel. Like I've been in it for over 25 years. It's the biggest shift I've ever seen. Everything is changing.
Are we though? So just to challenge you on that, like thinking back to Office 365, which had got, I think it was BPOS before it was
BPOS,
365.
yeah, bloody yeah, we're all so old.
Are we in the BPOS phase or the Office 365 phase?
We are coming out of BPOS into Office 365. So we're at the stage now. We're still a little bit behind. It depends what kind of partner you are. But we're definitely at the stage now where we already have partners that are monetizing AI already. They're not going the whole way towards agentic AI. We're starting off slowly with Copilot and building it into an AI solution. And then next year, you'll see that develop into a full agentic AI system. But there's definitely a big split in the channel. When I first came back in a few months ago, And I surveyed over 50 different MSPs, MSPs I've already worked with beforehand. And honestly, only 10% of them are what I would class as AI enabled. The other 90% hadn't even started. Now they have.
And that's what changed in the last 8 weeks?
Yes. So in the last 8 weeks, we kind of had to pull back because I had all these great ideas of teaching around agentic AI and digital teams and digital avatars and everything else. But when I was speaking to those MSPs, it became really clear that actually that market was very far behind. So we always had to backtrack and take a step back and meet them where they were today. And where they are today is they're sitting on a huge base of Microsoft 365 customers. They don't know how to start talking about AI. They don't know how to monetize it or package it or anything else. So we kind of pulled back and we created a 7-week challenge from Copilot to AI. So, a pathway into AI, all of their Microsoft 365 customers. And that's what shifted. Now they get it. Now it's a language they can understand.
When you say they, you mean the MSPs themselves or their end clients?
Both, because what we're actually seeing, and again, this is another shift. I've actually never witnessed this in the channel in my whole time. A lot of the demand has actually been driven by the end users. So we've kind of hit a point in the channel where the demand is so high, it's end users that are actually driving it all, and the supply is so low because there isn't enough MSPs trained on how to actually meet the demand. So right now, the top 10%, they're creaming it. They're the ones that are getting all the conversations because they're ready to start talking about it.
And when you talk about being able to meet that demand, I guess there's a sales commercial capability and then a delivery capability as well. Are we talking about both parts of that?
Yeah, you need to talk about both of it because, and again, this is why I talk about this part a lot, Dan, because the MSP industry should actually be the people leading the AI conversation. Because, when I look at it, like I'm an AI consultant myself, but, when I see there are so many AI startups out there and they're selling the big dream of what agentic AI and AI agents can do, and they get all of these clients to invest time, energy, money, a lot of money in it, and then they put the agent in place and it crumbles because the foundations weren't there in the right place to put the agent in. And it broke their data security, it went against their governance. Whereas actually MSPs are doing it the right way because they've already got a good foundation of identity, security, governance, workflows. They've already got the foundation to put AI on top. So the AI that they sell will successfully be deployed and it will be safe. The other ones are causing a risk. But that's why they should be leading it.
Be honest. When was the last time you actually felt in control of your MSP finances? The late nights chasing invoices, the cash flow stress, constant pressure to grow profit, it can feel never-ending. At MSP Finance Team, we've built the complete outsourced finance solution just for MSPs. From day-to-day bookkeeping to annual tax, management reporting, and full virtual finance team support, everything you need to run a profitable, stress-free business is under one roof. So whether you want to regain control, free up personal time, or finally build towards a real financial freedom, we can help you get there faster. Visit mspfinanceteam.com and discover how our outsourced finance team can help you stop surviving and start thriving.
Really good point. One thing I've picked up in this whole AI topic is like describing AI as a thing. Like it's like the cloud.
Yeah.
So when we talk about AI, we're talking presumably about professional managed services and some form of technology product, correct?
It's more transformation. I don't like to see it as a tool because what you are actually selling is the use case. You're selling the transformation of, increased productivity or increased capacity or improving experience. It's the same as when we were teaching business outcome selling years ago, Dan. You're not selling the tech, you're selling the transformation that it's going to give you. And when you start charging on outcomes rather than how many hours to manage it or the tech stack you're selling, then that's when the price is literally 10x. And customers are willing to pay for it because honestly, they're like, I know one guy who did create an agent, but his client actually asked him to create an agent. And this is a real story at MSP. He had no idea how to price it. It's the first agent he ever created. So he kind of went, what do we think people are paying for agents today? And he priced it at 15K. And he thought they're never going to pay that for one agent. So they did pay it. 2 months later, the client came back to him and said, you have no idea how much money you've just saved us. You've just saved us about 2 million a year. So what did he do with his prices?
Well, I imagine he put them up if he could.
Put them
And
up.
what was the agent doing in that exact instance, Fiona?
It was in the financial sector. So they were managing a lot of the back end financial side of the business. And, they were able to save a huge amount of time on resources, capacity, give them more
Do you
revenue
know what the
back.
actual, was it one particular workflow or was it replacing labor, human manpower somewhere? How was it making that saving?
It was making it by taking away all of the repetitive stuff. So, like the same invoice is being sent all of the time, creating new workflows for things that really probably have been done the same way for a number of years, but actually it could be done better now with AI. So it actually created a full agentic workflow to give them the output, but much quicker with less people.
Or it's
And
labour
less
savings
hands-on.
ultimately then on human
Yeah.
labour. Yeah.
Human labor, yeah, but not getting rid of the people. And this is why it works so well. You're not removing the people with AI. You're removing the work
Sure.
that is repetitive, that's rule-based, that's resource-heavy. You're removing that part so they can focus on more high-value activities.
So just going back to some of the things you're helping your your MSP clients with at the moment, where you explicitly said, we're not ready for agents yet, but we are ready for Copilot and the way that Microsoft are trying to help everyone monetize this. So just dig into that a little bit more than Fiona and paint a structure for where MSPs should be going today. If they're not already thinking about how to monetize this, if they're already selling 365 today, what should they be doing?
Yeah, perfect. So you guys like cars, don't you? Well, actually, Adam, you like golf, don't
quite
you?
like,
And
I quite like a
Daniel
motor
like
car
cars.
as well. I just was obsessed with some people.
So see, the way I like to explain it is, see at the moment where your clients are. So your clients are already comfortable using Microsoft 365. Their whole business runs around it. MSPs are comfortable to talk about 365. So the way I see it is the very first part into AI is Copilot. And see, Copilot is the learner car. It's the learner car where you're starting to learn about how do I talk about AI? How do I build my confidence? How do I build my belief? How do I package it so I'm selling it as an AI service? Then eventually, yes, you will want to get to agentic AI, but you have to get your license first. So you have to go through all of the steps, for example, from Copilot, then you might move on to doing apps, creating a single use app and getting comfortable with that. Then you'd move on to agents. Then you would move on to workflows. Then you'd move on to multi-agent workflows. Then you'd move on to the digital team and the business outcome. But you have to go through and get that license before you get the Ferrari. So you're starting with a Fiat Panda with Copilot. That's just the start. But to sell the Ferrari, which is agentic AI, you have to get your license. Because you can't just build agents straight away. You need to go through the whole workflow management. And you need to be able to really architecture the outcomes that your clients are trying to achieve. So, what's the transformation they're really trying to achieve? And you map it back from there. But also building it on a foundation of governance, security, and identity.
And how are you recommending MSPs approach this initial stage? Are we talking about some kind of discovery, some kind of audit, some kind of workflow audit, automation? What are they doing today? What does their workflow look like? Then trying to prioritize that. Just take us through, say, a typical approach.
Yeah, definitely. So your first one is to be your own customer zero. So you have to start using it yourself so that you can then start to use it with confidence and sell it with confidence. So we always say step one is to adopt Copilot and some AI internally yourself, track your own use cases. So for example, we've just implemented it into a service desk in Sheffield. where they weren't even using the Teams element, to record your calls and record the transcripts and then have that turn into a follow-up and put notes into the PSA system. We have saved literally 2 hours a day per service engineer just by implementing that one part. So you become your own best use case and you use the demonstration of that to share that with your customers and then start your lead gen. But then the next step is the readiness assessment. So you do have to do that audit, that readiness assessment to see if they've got the right foundations in place. So we build a full readiness assessment to check across all of the pillars, including the security, the identity, the governance, everything else. We check all of that first. In most cases, customers are semi-ready. So we score like between a 1 and a 5. Most of them score between a 3 to 3.5. But if there's some of them that are 1, 2, don't even go there because it's not going to work.
So they're not ready on the readiness assessments.
They're not ready on it. So you have to score a 3 and above. And then if they're ready, then we'll start to do a pilot. But the way that most end users will work is they will start with a small pilot. They'll start with like 5, maybe between 5 and 20 people. But the key thing with that pilot is getting them the value and a quick win. So we do like a 30-day onboarding program where we make sure that the use cases they're trying to get, they achieve that in the first 30 days. And then we do an acceleration plan after that. We do like prompt-a-thons, we do gamification, we do acceleration and adoption hubs. So you're making it work, basically. You're showing it because AI is something, and you'll know it yourself. AI is something, it is better if they see it. And you have to kind of see it to believe it. And when they see how much time they're saving, that's when it expands into the rest of the business. And then that's when you start to sell your full stack. So you go way beyond the Copilot license and you're packaging readiness plus Copilot plus training and adoption plus acceleration. Then you have the security element where we sell security as a service to make sure it's secured safely. And then once you've mastered that, then you can go into agentic AI. But master the ground of Copilot.
And what would you say to MSP owners out there that are nervous around the business level conversations? So they're fine, with the tech, they're fine with security, they're fine with their own processes, right? They don't understand how legal companies work, how finance companies work, how retail people work. So we're now suggesting they get immersed into a business workflow and have a business conversation, which might be a bit of a leap for some owners out there. So what's your sort of thoughts and ideas around getting over some of those hurdles?
Well, the best thing is a lot of the end users actually know what they want to achieve themselves. So you'll find them coming, we've heard another lawyer did this, or we heard another accountant has done that. So a lot of the time they actually come saying, we've heard that we can do this. Can you help us map it back? So really all you have to do is get yourself out of the IT fixer mode and become the AI facilitator. So just work it backwards. This is what they're trying to achieve. How can we start to help them to achieve that with Copilot today? But this is also why you need to use it yourself first internally, because that's what gives you that knowledge.
I think that is true. Just from my own experience, this isn't something you can, ask ChatGPT about or any other AI LLM and just get an answer. You actually do need to live it. You need to understand which use cases it excels at, which it's poor at, when it hallucinates, when it doesn't. You are the driver of the car. You've still got your hands on the wheel, haven't you? And you can't take those hands of the wheel off just yet for most scenarios.
Yeah. And that's why that first 30-day pilot's really important, because you've both got your hands on the wheel and you're making sure it works before you then put it into the wider organization. But what I've noticed, even on we do a 7-week challenge, but we implement as we go through. So everything we're telling you to sell to your client, you have to do it first yourself. So even you can create some agents in the Microsoft 365 Copilot, the paid version, but free agents. And we build agents together. I've had 3 of them today already where we built a proposal, writing agent for an MSP. We've built one that builds QBR documents. We built an agent for that, but they do it with me live on the call. Because the only way you're going to do it is if you focus yourself with time to say, let's do it now and build it and see how quick it is.
And who is driving and monitoring the output from the agents, in this case, in the MSP? So I think to Adam's point earlier, he mentioned owners as the people to be doing this, but actually, really, in a scaled managed services business, you've got commercial people, technical account managers, you've got project managers, you've got technicians, engineers, first to fourth line, for example.
Yeah.
So who's actually doing what in this process?
So the people we work with most are the owners, because a lot of the owners are doing the selling themselves as well, and they're salespeople. So we start with that. The technical people actually don't need to be involved in the first part of it. They need to get involved from the security aspect of it, but the initial part, they actually don't need to. But like today, we've just done an overview of Purview. And I mean, a lot of the MSPs that even we're training, they don't know about Purview in 365. They don't know about the governance, the security side, the prop management. So when we teach them through that part of it, that's when their IT team go, we can actually use this and scale it, and we can do everything through Purview. Or security Copilot, whatever it is they want to sell, but they sell managed security as a service. That's when they make the shift from managed service provider to managed AI provider, managing it securely. So the tech people tend to get involved at that part, but it's mainly the business side of people that get involved at the start. You do not need to be techie to sell AI. In fact, it's the worst thing. I mean, I'm not techie, you know that, Dan.
I think you do yourself with injustice there.
I'm definitely not techie.
But so what we're selling, though, is a service, however it is priced, and somewhat there will be some accountability that needs to go around that. So are we saying that this predominantly is the player manager in the smaller MSP and the technical account management team, salespeople in the larger MSP that are both selling and project managing the rollout of this?
Yes, yeah. But the good thing is, I mean, you know, some of the bigger MSPs, so, you know, let me give you an example of one, Node 4, you know, huge MSP in the UK, you know, they're already selling agentic AI. So they are already creating all of the agentic workflows, they're creating the digital workforce, everything else. So when you get to that stage, it's a different game. You do need a lot more technical people. You need an AI architect. You need additional skill sets at that level. But at the start level, you don't need that. You don't even need code, Dan. You don't even need coding skills or anything. You don't need to know Python, even to build agents yourself. You don't need that. You need low code, no code ways to do it, which is what AI now gives you the pleasure of doing.
And presumably, you can create agents to deliver the agents.
Yeah. And honestly, and that's what's so good.
Robots, right?
You have so we call that the orchestrator level. It's when you have lots of different agents, and then you have an agent managing the agent. But that's when it starts to get into agentic AI. And kind of the easy way to explain it is, if you think of Copilot, Copilot is more of like an assistant. So it's an assistant in AI. But when you get into agentic AI, you're telling the agents to take action. So you're giving it the autonomy to do something. That's when you need an agent managing the agents and then human in the loop to check.
Driverless cars, to go back to your earlier
driverless cars, exactly.
So the other sort of significant component, well, there's two really, I guess, but the one I was just thinking about was the fact that by definition, because this is moving so quickly, there will clearly be, it should be straightforward to monetize the ongoing support and maintenance of everything that's put in, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to break, things are going to change, whether from the security or the workflow component or something else. And so clearly there's an ongoing support plan then that can be sold around whatever implementations are made. Because for me, I think any MSP should be looking to sell monthly recurring all the time. Monetize any kind of project into some kind of ongoing value-adding monthly recurring piece of work. So I think that, again, is a huge piece for me. It's not just about that initial project. It's about monetizing it on an ongoing basis. The other component to all of this, and I think we kind of touched on it already, is there is 90% of the market, MSP market, who aren't having the appropriate conversations with their clients around this. And probably half of their
Yeah.
clients are like, well, when's he going to kind of talk about this stuff, right? Because I'm kind of hearing it kind of here and there, and I'm not really sure what we should be doing or if we should be doing anything. So I think the other part here is there's almost the case of, even if you're not confident today as an MSP owner, even if you don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
just get started. Just get
100%.
started. Just
Just
know a
get
little bit more
started.
than your clients do. Sell something. Maybe you don't have all the answers to what you're going to sell, but sell that audit. Then work out how to do that audit, right? Because you're going to learn
Yes.
from that
Yeah.
process, and you're going to be better at your second audit. So we're not looking for perfection on day one, because, we all want perfection. We all want, to get it right. But I think we've just got to get started on this. And I think, if you wait too long, it's just going to be out of date anyway, right? It will have moved on again.
Yeah,
So we've got to
exactly.
we've got to go with what we know today, that's sensible, that has, a good chance of being good enough, right, for day one. And guess what? The second time you do it, it'll be a lot easier, and it will have moved on anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, Adam, we start them in Copilot, because we're meeting customers and we're meeting MSPs where they're comfortable
Yeah.
today. Home is the Microsoft 365. Then we're putting them into a learner car in the 7 weeks, and we're saying, okay, this is how you're going to learn how to do it with confidence and belief. And we're also going to package everything up and give it to you. So there's no excuse not to get started. We're giving you readiness assessment playbooks, adoption playbooks. We're literally giving everything on a silver plate. Just start having the conversation, because if you don't, somebody else will.
That's exactly it. It's now a sales
Yeah.
differentiator to have that conversation where someone has an incumbent, which they don't have a problem with, but they're interested in an AI discussion or solution, or to understand it more, and that opens that
Yeah.
door.
Exactly. And, and earlier I mentioned the fact that demand is much higher than we have supply. And I'll tell you a story. I was at the network group in Belfast. I was running a workshop on AI there with David Tulip, who I'm sure you all know. We actually created a David AI agent. We actually created one in the demo. It was so funny. And it does actually sound like him as well.
So this is it. We don't know if we're actually in a meeting with David or not.
Honestly, you need to ask him to show you David AI. It's very funny. But the story I was saying was, I was literally talking to an MSP in the break, and we were talking about AI in the education sector, because he sells into the education sector. And he said he's inundated with schools and university and everybody asking them to implement Copilot. And literally 10 minutes later, after the break had finished, I was having a chat with a girl called Natalie, who works for Enforcer. And she was telling me that her husband is a teacher. And the teacher said, we are desperate to use Copilot. We've all got licenses, but we don't know what to do with them. And I said, well, has the MSP not went through an onboarding plan with them, taught them how to use it? And they went, no, they asked. And the MSP said, we don't know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I've just been speaking to a guy who does know how to show you how to use it. Should I introduce you? So I introduced her to the MSP who does know what he's doing. And what do you think happened to the incumbent? They weren't ready. So the client went with somebody else. And that is what I see happening. I see it happen every single day. That's why I say, just get started.
100% agree.
Really, really powerful stuff there, I think. And we, of course, haven't even talked about this as a new business activity. We're talking about defending our existing estates here.
Both.
But
Yeah.
For that very reason, you should be front foot with this from a new business perspective as well.
Yeah, I think both. And, honestly, I really think the way that the channel needs to look at this now, not just even MSPs, resellers, VARs, all of us, see the channel right now, it's splitting in two. We've got the traditional MSPs, we've got traditional IT channel, reseller VARs, and then we've got the agentic AI channel. And the agentic AI channel are the people who are already not just talking about AI, they're deploying it and they're monetizing it, even if they're just starting with Copilot. But see yourself as that and ask yourself, which side of the channel do I want to be on? Back here, where I'm a fixer, or do I want to become a facilitator of the agentic AI era? And that just gets started with Copilot. It's easy.
And Of course, we've made reference to the training course that you provide to assist our listeners in going through that process. Can you share with us in terms of maybe something that's become outdated since the beginning of your training program here, to give people a little bit of a taster as to what they might get from the training course?
Yeah, so I mean, even today, the readiness assessment, so week 2 is where we do the readiness assessment. And even from the rollout that I've done before this, we've just had to update that readiness assessment and change it again today, because Microsoft had the Ignite conference in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago. They made a lot of changes, especially around security. So we had to update that entire assessment again. But, the great thing about that is when you're in a group that's all on the same journey, when anything changes, we just update it as we go along. So you're always using the freshest version. And that's what we do in the 7-week program. It is literally get your hands dirty. We do it together. It's like a cohort office. There's like 10 to 15 in a group of different MSPs, but you all do it together. We show you together, you learn together, you implement together, you learn what works, what doesn't work, but we give you the whole roadmap. And that's the key, is just get started on that part first. And we've already brought nearly 50 MSPs by the end of the year. We'll have taken over 50 through that. And then some of them are coming on to the next part of the program next year, which is literally Mentori. Do you remember we talked about Mentori to start with? So It's kind of Mentori for AI, but it's a full 12-month program, like a full 12 months into agentic AI. But we go from Copilot, then we'll go into agent, then we'll go into workflows, then we'll go into multi-agents, then we'll have the agent that manages the agent, and we'll go the whole way through that. But that's a 12-month. That's a 12-month commitment. It's not a course. That's doing AI labs every month. It's meeting every quarter like we did with Mentori. We're bringing in legal experts, AI experts, security experts. It's literally exactly the same as Mentori, but for AI. And that's next year. So that's the plan for next year. But we're still running the Copilot AI challenge, because you can't get into the 12-month program until you master Copilot.
Right, very good.
It's the learner car. You have to learn it. The 12-month program is the license. And at the end of the license, you're going to drive the Ferrari.
You had me at Ferrari, if I'm being honest.
Well, you can't just drive a Ferrari. You don't put a learner in a Ferrari.
You certainly don't. And unless, of course, you're prepared for the consequences.
Exactly. And that's a really good way to look at it. If you see some of these AI people who are out selling all of this agentic AI, they're selling the Ferrari, but the consequences are going to hit them. We've already seen it happen where customers' data is being leaked, it's been breached. That will happen because they're not building it on good foundations. That's why we start with MSPs.
Very good. And Fiona, we knew this was going to be an insightful episode, and it's certainly not disappointed. If anyone would like to carry on the conversation, and perhaps the starting point is the Copilot,
start there.
Copilot cohort, how best to get in touch?
Yeah, so we'll put a link somewhere. I'll share a link if you want to somewhere around the podcast, and we'll give you a saving like we do with the network group and the other groups who come together. We'll give you a saving, anyone who wants to join it. And the next one starts 14th of January. Oh no, I tell a lie. Okay. It's 7th of January for that. It's 14th for the 12-month program.
Okay. I'm not sure what date we'll get the episode out. We'll try and rush it out so that it's before the 7th, before Christmas maybe, if we're very lucky. And and of course, anyone that would like to talk to you separately, you can be found on LinkedIn and at most popular network MSP community.
Yeah, you'll see me back at the event speaking again. Network group was my first one back, but yeah, we're getting booked out for all of the AI keynotes and everything for next year. So you'll see me back on the stage, but also just LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn and we'll help you from there.
Real Fiona or
the real
robot
Fiona?
Real Fiona, good. You heard it here first. Brilliant.
It's very difficult to mimic an Irish accent, Dad. Especially one as strong as mine.
Well, that's the challenge laid down to AI when robot Fiona is.
You can hear it in the accent.
Yeah, indeed. Fiona, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for your time, and all the best for 2026.
You too, guys, and thanks for having me
Thanks,
on.
Fiona.
You're welcome.